Leroy Horde, welcome to the program.
Grow up.
Where are you? Coming up on 48 hours after the debacle. How you doing?
Real quick on what you guys were talking about. You have to understand that the reason why he got that job is because he's offensive coordinator.
Sure.
So there's a lot of and understand the structure that goes, how it goes from week to week. You may very well have an offensive coordinator during the week, but that offensive coordinator doesn't necessarily call the plays. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes it has to do with the communication of the coach calling the play in to the quarterback. So just because he is calling the plays doesn't mean he's doing the brunt of the offensive work. Now, I will say this, that part of the problem with him having both jobs is this, and this is what I found on Sunday. If you didn't watch the game and you went and looked at all the numbers and all the keys to what you would think a team has to win the game, the Browns did that. Mm-hmm. Every single aspect of it. From running the football, from third down efficiency, time of possession, all these things. But here's what happens. Sometimes you get a big lead and you give up a big play. And you're like, don't worry about it. That's okay. We still have a nice lead. Then you make a mistake. And then they score again. What Kevin Stefanski needs to be, and what people need to be as leaders on that team, is somebody that rights the ship. Somebody that gets everybody back into what they were doing to get that big lead. Because the issues that transpired to let the Jets back into that game were a combination of a bunch of small mistakes that ended up being catastrophic, right? I watched this show called, and I hate flying, but I fly a lot, and I hate it. But I watched this show called Mayday Air Disaster.
Probably not a good idea.
Why would you watch
flying?
Inflate movie?
Because I am always curious as to what makes things go wrong.
Right.
Right? And sometimes with these planes, it's the maintenance guy rushing in forgetting to tighten a screw. And over a period of time, something falls off and causes the plane to drop. Something as simple as that.
Right.
And so when I watched this game on Sunday, I just kind of got the feeling that it got to a point where nobody was doing the little things. Nobody was doing, Brad, when you're down by 20, your coach would never tell you to go score more points. He would say, stop the other team.
Yeah, lock them. Yep.
They don't worry about the points.
Mm-mm.
You see what I'm saying? And so I think that they need a voice to focus them on the things when they go south that matter.
This has been a consistent
You see what I mean?
problem.
Instead of trying to do everything,
Yeah.
focus on small things that you've been doing well and get your guys to get after this area. And then it'll trickle to everything else being fixed.
So you'd be
But
in
they
favor
look
of
like
him
they
then?
were trying to fix everything.
But Leroy, this has been a consistent problem since Kevin Stefanski has been here. The Browns have had the best talent they've had in a long time under these 3 years. And yet, this has been a consistent issue. Even in games they've won. Even in a playoff game against the Steelers that they
get
won.
Close.
They make you hold your breath at the end. It happens all the time. That's, when it's happening all the time. If it happens once or twice, okay, it's an anomaly. But when it's consistently happening, there's a core issue. You're talking about it, but they haven't been able to fix it. So how do they do it?
It's kind of a mindset, because you don't realize when that stink get on you. And I'll use basketball. When you miss 3 shots in a row, you don't know you getting ready to go 0 for 20. It just kind of happens, and you look back and go, wow, I haven't made a shot in a while. And I think that sometimes when things start going wrong, instead of focusing on one aspect of it,
The micro.
you try to fix everything, and it makes it worse.
It's like whack-a-mole.
Right. Exactly.
So
whereas
Leroy, do you then?
you have to learn, they have to learn that the bigger issue is usually a result of a smaller one. And if you fix the smaller issue, it will then affect the rest of everything else that's going wrong.
So should he give up the play calling and be that guy that is more macro and let the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator immerse themselves in the micro? Because you're right, I felt like the bus was going off the cliff and nobody was grabbing the wheel.
Right. Here's what I would say about that. I don't necessarily know what their preparation is during the week. So sometimes calling plays is not, you're not putting in all that work all week, but you have coaches meetings and you discuss what's going to be run under certain circumstances. So everybody pretty much has an idea. Just because he's calling the plays is not important. But here's what is important is that if your team needs more TLC and needs to be focused on these areas that we talked about, right? And you need to periodically huddle everybody and get them pointing in the right direction. Let's just do this. For example, when you're making a comeback, you know what they say? They don't say, let's go score in this drive. Let's get a first down.
Sure.
Let's get another first down.
Baby steps.
And it builds, and you start going downhill. That's what the team needs. And if him calling plays takes away from that, then it becomes a problem.
It's a problem.
But who's calling the plays is not because, here, when I was in Minnesota, Brian Billick was the offensive coordinator, right? But periodically, I definitely hear Denny push that offensive button and say, let's go, let's take a shot.
Right.
So it's not like he's not going to have hands on.
No, he's CEO.
And it's basically just a voice calling the plays that everybody already knows that's coming. When you practice during the week and you practice certain situations, everybody on the field has an idea of what's coming. So him calling the plays is not a big deal. But there are times during the course of a game where if you don't have a player, you need the coach to be that voice. Everybody settle down. We're good. Okay? Here's what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to put a little bit more pressure on them. Force Joe Flacco to make quicker decisions. Okay? We're going to, D-line, we need you to pick up the pace. We need you to pick it up a little bit.
They did
Okay?
nothing.
Offensively, hey, we're going to continue to run the ball. We're having success. We're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we can go 3 and out. And you send this message throughout your team, and then everybody refocuses.
Right.
And I think that when you watch the game and you watch things going south, you know every NFL team's going to put forth that final charge. Everybody. That's football. You're going to go no huddle. You're going to open it up. You're going to have your quarterback slinging it all over the place because you got a 2-touchdown lead. You ain't playing as aggressive. You don't want to give up the big play. But you're still going to need that voice, that somebody to come in and either, one, calm everybody down, because I bet you there was when that 70-yard touchdown came, I bet you everybody on the field was pissed off too.
So Leroy, this is where I would jump in on, because you're making great points. I think we said that yesterday. Let me ask you a question. You in Michigan, I'm assuming it was both Jim Beckler, right? When things got south, he was the one saying, this is the deal, right? If I'm in Columbus, it is Urban Meyer, it is Tressel, it is those the guys that say Woody Hayes. This is the deal.
Yeah.
So when we got down the stretch yesterday, and this thing, because once we missed the field goal, I mean, it was the extra point, the door to the window opened up, and everybody in the building started feeling like, here comes the mess.
Oh, here we go.
Right. So we have been there before. My thing is, I want you to tell me, because the one thing that's unexcusable to me is the clock management down the stretch, because you could have basically run the clock out here. Now, who was supposed to tell him what was going on? Because it was very clear that nobody out there knew the time and clock situation. It was clear. Not Jacoby.
Guess what?
Not Stefanski.
Brett.
Nobody.
Right. Let me tell you, Brad, everybody at some point in their life have to eat some humble pie, right? We got all these offensive gurus in the NFL, and they always want to be the smartest guy on the field, right? You think we're going to do this? Well, we're going to do this, right? We're going to change it up. But there comes a point in time in football where everything has been decided for you and determined for you as far as how you close out the game. You know, we had this thing, and you hear it on TV all the time. 4-minute offense. 4-minute offense. Close out the game. 2 first downs. You ain't getting it throwing. We run 4-minute offense. We running it. If we don't get it, it's going to be the 2-minute warning. The only thing you can do to make matters worse is on 1st or 2nd down, throw one of those little short passes that is incomplete.
Stop the clock.
I don't care if you throw a bomb. If you go over the top, I would be happier that you took a shot because everybody was up near the line of scrimmage. But they all do this. All these offensive gurus, at the end of a game, they try to throw a safe damn pass, and it ends up being incomplete. So not only didn't you complete the 2-yard pass, but the clock is stopped. Eat some humble pie. You know how football is played. You know what needs to happen in these moments. Don't get caught up in how you want to look. Just do what is necessary to win. And I think at the end of that game, and let's keep in mind, here's the other thing that really, really gets me. You ain't got bums running the football. Okay? You ain't got bums running the football. You got 2 of the best backs in the NFL. They are your 2 best offensive players. If I'm going out with my Michael Jordan and my Kobe. I ain't going out with another dude. And that's just how it has to be. You have to be aware of your circumstances. And it's too many times during a football game. It happened in the New England game. I mean, not in New England, but in the first game. Carolina. Right? Because guess what? At the end of that game, we were all looking at that TV like, oh no, Baker's going to do it. Because you opened up a window. You tried to be too cute. If I'm going out, if I'm a Cleveland Brown and I'm going out with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. End of discussion. And the fact that that didn't happen, win or lose, those dudes have proven that they're probably the most dependable guys making something happen in those situations than anybody you got on the field.
Hey, Leroy.
So I don't care if you put them both in the backfield,
Yeah.
you do something crazy, you spice it up a little bit, but guess who's going to end up with the football? Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. End of the story.
And that's got to be the case again this week. Let's look ahead to Steeler week. Thursday night football, short week here. The game's 2 days away. Do you think, like, when I'm sure when you played it was, but, like, obviously for the most part, the Steelers have kicked the Browns' ass for the last, since they've been back in '99, right?
Oh, no, it was true when I was there, too.
Yeah, okay. Right. But so is there extra hatred or whatever you want to call it, anger, being fired up when you play the Steelers, or is it truly just one game, doesn't matter if it's what team it is?
Oh, no. What the hell are you talking about? Of course it matters.
What do you mean what I'm talking about?
It's the Steelers.
There's players who try to down. I don't think that's the case. There's players who try to downplay it
But
all
they ain't
the time.
going to tell you. They ain't going to tell you.
So you're saying they're full of crap?
Even when I played against them, I was like, oh, yeah, they're a good football team.
Yeah.
They're the benchmark of this division. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say to you.
What are you saying in the locker room?
We got to get this. I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
So, but
F
here's
those
the
guys?
deal. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. The way Cleveland plays football isn't going to change. The better the team, the better you need to be at it. As simple as that. That's not going to change. But, the fact of the matter is when you get to those crunch moments in the game, and I'm going to just be honest with you, okay? Here's how it works in football. Just like it works in any other sport, right? If you're in the ninth inning and you getting ready to win a World Series, who you want on the mound? Mario Rivera, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you playing basketball and you need one shot or one bucket, who you want?
Jordan.
LeBron. You want LeBron, Kobe, and Jordan.
I'd take Steve
Okay.
Kerr, but okay.
If we getting to the end of the game and we need 4-minute offense, who do I want with the ball in their hands? Jacoby Brissett, Nick Chubb, or Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
Period.
Pretty obvious.
It doesn't change. Don't outsmart. Like Brad, how many times you see coaches outsmart themselves?
Oh my God.
It is the single-handed
Tylenol.
most nerve-wracking thing, especially if you on the team. So, I don't know if Kevin Stefanski needs to trust somebody to make the calls, and he needs to be an overall, oversee everything, because then he can have his hands on everything to some extent.
Yep.
Because I've also heard Denny go into that mic and say, hey, let's get some more pressure on this guy. He's sitting back there drinking coffee. I've heard that. That's what the head coach does.
That's what he does.
The head coach has an overall
That's it.
vision
Yes, it is.
of what is going on.
Yep.
He gets a feel for what's going on, and then he gets his troops, his men, going in the right direction. Now, it doesn't mean he can't do that as an offensive coordinator. But here's what's different. When Andy Reid doesn't call plays anymore. It's Bieniemy. But when he used to call plays, the quarterback coach or the offensive coordinator or Bieniemy would always be talking to Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. He wasn't going to talk to the offensive team. He was still doing his head coaching duties. You see what I mean?
That's interesting.
So I think one of the things that Kevin Stefanski needs to learn, and it's hard. It is hard to give up something. Here's the hardest thing in the world to do in life. Your future in your current profession depending on somebody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Think about that.
I gotta trust you.
Let's not make it sound like it's so easy. When the reason, like you see some of the circumstances that got him that job. So he has to, at some point, read the room, get an idea of where he's needed the most, trust the other people
Trust his people.
that he hired, and kind of, it's going to make the game plan better. You know why? because they're going to talk about it over and over again about different situations, circumstances, because Kevin Stefanski will make sure that everybody's on the same page he's on. If he's going to relinquish that power, you're going to talk and you're going to think like him.
Mm-hmm.
Leroy, here's the important question.
At some point, he's got to do it.
Leroy, here's the important question. What did you think about the dopey fake dogs they had? We just saw it in the video as the guys are running out. Did you guys see that during the game?
I didn't like it. Yeah.
Did you see it, Leroy?
If you take that shot of Brissett getting ready to come
Can
on
we
the
get
field
that shot
again,
of Brissett
Leroy
again,
can
guys,
see it.
that we just played?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we got to fast
let's
forward.
see.
Give us 1 second.
Not nearly as unforgivable being at the game as the elf animations that were on the scoreboard, where they tried to have a fierce-looking elf like come out after
were they bad?
spiked the ball and he had like a scowl on. And I'm not an elf hater. I'm really not, I don't care. But making it come out as a little cartoon and like celebrate was just beyond the pale, and I didn't care for that. It was bad. Leroy,
Man, you guys.
Can we get some real dogs?
You know what?
Can we get some Rottweilers running? I don't know, what is this?
oh no,
That is horrible.
Yeah.
Leroy,
He
if
kinda
you were
looks
ready
like
to
Jacoby.
come out of the locker room and you saw that fake dog, what would you do? Would
He
you be
said it
angry?
kind of looks like Jacoby.
Look, they gotta look like.
Oh
Hey,
my God!
I can be.
Ouch.
I can tell you what.
Like Jacoby. Oh my God! Leroy,
They're like,
Leroy, you
hey,
crazy.
I want the Browns to be good enough where we don't need props.
Right.
exactly.
I don't care about
Right,
the props,
like-
Leroy.
Ideally, yep.
Who,
I
can I
ain't
ask you
looking
a
at
question?
cartoons.
Who the hell are you entertaining
Right.
by putting a cartoon gnome on the screen or a fake dog?
I just want
Who you
to be-
entertaining?
I
Least
just want
Is
intimidating
anybody
thing
in
I've
that
ever seen.
stand?
Leroy, I just want you to be smash somebody in the mouth.
Right.
That's all I want.
Right. Yeah, you know what? If you want, then walk out some real dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Walk out
saying.
some real dogs.
Well, they usually have them.
Well, they did that.
Yeah,
with-
but they have little wimpy
had
dogs.
s-
We need like
they
a
had-
Rottweiler.
they had
We need a
Swagger.
pit bull. Let's get him out there killing people.
Swagger was
Well,
a-
no, Swagger has since passed on.
Yeah,
So
but then
that dog,
Swagger
we made that
too.
dog watch some of the worst football ever, and then it
Yeah.
and then it died.
Swagger
It
was like a
thank you.
turtle for crying out loud.
Now-
He barely moved.
Now Swagger's son is there being punished, or at
Yeah.
least like a little
Animal
Swagger.
group,
looks like
Hey,
it's kind
no,
of a badass dog.
I'm not
isn't
a
he?
big.
Yeah.
I'm not a big props guy. You know what I mean? I just think, you know.
Who would have guessed that, Leroy? I would have guessed you were a big prop guy.
Well, we're one of the only
Can I
teams that
just say
doesn't have
this?
cheerleaders.
Let's
I mean,
get some
a lot of-
you know
cheerleaders,
what?
Leroy, for crying out loud.
Can I say this?
You say it.
Here's what kills me about where we are in the world today. Because, and I'm going to put this word on it, and I'm going to call it corporate,
Okay.
right? And corporate sits in a room
Think of the things.
without asking anybody involved
Oh, yeah.
and determine what the people will like.
Well
And
said, Leroy.
so many times I've gone into a business establishment and they've said corporate thinks it would be best. I'm like, I'm that person and it sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
You're
Leroy,
100%. I say it all the
DeQuell told
time.
the story about handing out the white flags.
That's
before
right.
The Steelers game.
The Browns were going to hand that. Yes.
And DeQuell went to Jimmy and D and said, "This is the dumbest
That's so
idea I've ever
stupid.
heard. Why are you gonna give
Why
up?"
you white flags?
They were going to
That
get a
means
white
you
flag.
surrender.
I remember
They
that.
printed them all up and they were ready to go. It was in the program that they were going to hand them out. They wanted, it was a play on the Steelers' yellow towels. So they gave everybody
What
white
made
towels.
you surrender?
Yes.
And well, to Jimmy and D's credit, once it was brought to their attention by DeQuell, they were like, "Well, that is kind of a dumb idea."
Universal signal for surrender across the
Instead-
world.
Flag.
And instead, what they did, it was a great idea. Instead, what they did was give them to all the truckers they ripped off.
The reason.
Allegedly. By the way, I say this all the time, Leroy, when it comes to sports, when it comes to media, whenever the suits get involved, things go to hell. Suits ruin everything.
It's because guess what? There is no interaction with the people they think they know what's best for.
That's right. We're losing our minds
So-
here.
We're
son.
losing it over his trucker comment.
They had a
Like-
Pilot Flying J new kiosk at the stadium, just so you know, where you can actually get like as if you know how you want the convenience of eating gas station food,
Right.
But more expensive in a
Yeah, they
stadium
purposely
setting.
don't clean the bathrooms.
And, But I was really looking. I was looking at it, and I'm just like, man, I hope nobody's trying to get any like coupons out of that place or anything like that. So that's another. Allegedly.
Is
Let me
there
tell
really
you.
a flying
Can-
J?
can
There
I
is.
just
There's a
tell
Pilot
you-
Flying J.
Pilot Flying J. Come on there. there.
Has-
Hey,
Mike
I
Jones.
lived in Tennessee. They called it just Flying J back in Tennessee.
Called a Flying J.
Oh my goodness.
Has anybody
goes from
ever
Tennessee?
eaten gas station food earlier than 2:00 in the morning after being out?
Yeah, no,
I
there's
mean,
Does
a
Wawa
pig's,
count?
is a pig's ass pork there, Leroy? I mean, what's going on here?
Read the room.
Regroup.
No, actually,
regroup.
in all honesty, obviously I love to eat, but I don't eat gas station food.
we have to go to
No.
what the internet is saying, but before we let you go, Leroy, I have one question back on the football thing. You mentioned
Sure.
that there was, that Stefanski wasn't grabbing the wheel and keeping this thing from going off the cliff. We don't know. We haven't been in that huddle. We haven't been in an NFL
Right.
locker room in that setting. I also think, because I've seen it with my own eyes, that oftentimes that voice doesn't always have to be the coach. If you were with the Ravens,
Yeah.
Ray Lewis doesn't let that bus get to the curb. Where is the leadership on this team? I'm waiting for someone to step up on offense. I'm waiting for someone to step up on defense and be that rah-rah guy. And I just don't see it. Is that a bigger problem?
When I say Kevin Stefanski, I'm merely saying that because of the conversation.
Okay.
But it could be anybody,
Right.
right? Like it has to be somebody who is respected in the locker room
Credibility.
and somebody that means business.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
And so from that standpoint, it doesn't necessarily have to be Kevin Stefanski. But I will say this.
Who do you think it would be, Leroy? Who do you think?
It's got to be Myles Garrett. It should be Myles Garrett, but he's not leading that way.
I don't
necessarily.
see, and you got to be careful
Yeah.
doing the offense-defense thing,
Yeah.
right? Because it has to be somebody that's respected with everybody, right? But you have, if that was the case, you just have one or two captains. But if you notice, they do a couple on defense, a couple on offense. So I don't know if it needs to be one of those guys. I don't know who it needs to be.
It needs to be
But-
somebody.
It just seemed like there's been a couple of moments in the last 2 weeks where a regroup was necessary.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Where everybody needs to calm down, let's do what we do, and get out of Dodge. Right? And it almost seemed like it just that situation just kept getting progressively worse. To where now you weren't getting any pressure on the quarterback. You got Joe Flacco throwing it all over the place. You got receivers running wide ass open. You can't get a first down on offense because you're trying to be too cute. Add all that together, and it's a comeback. And
Yeah,
you
you're
don't
right.
somebody and this is what I'm saying by this. Somebody has to acknowledge and understand what is going on and do something to stop it, either by past experiences, either by somebody who has the ear of everybody, but there's got to be somebody in the organization when you see bad play after bad play after bad play after misstep after this. You see, because guess what? I'll give you a perfect example. If we were in a 4-minute offense and Bill Belichick sent in one of those little short passes, Bernie would have said, oh no. Leroy, let's go. You see what I'm saying?
Maybe that's why he got
now-
released.
They bumped heads a lot.
Yeah.
But they didn't bump heads because neither guy wanted to lose or either guy wanted to see the other guy fail. They bumped heads because Bernie could evaluate a situation and do what it took to win that play, that series, that game.
Amen.
And Bill was a structural guy. He felt that the more people he had going in the right direction, eventually it would work out. And it's proven. You look at New England right now. Everybody says the same right thing. Everybody does the same thing on the football field. It's very structured. And that's why they bumped heads. It had nothing to do with personalities. It had nothing to do with did they like each other. No, it just had to do with Bernie could go onto a football field, evaluate what was going on, tweak a play in the huddle on the third baseline, because that's where we were on that damn baseball field, right? And it would work. And we would watch film and go over the script as far as what play was called, and it was never the play that was called. So we spent half our time on Mondays, usually after a win, explaining what was really going on. That drove Bill crazy.
Great stuff, Leroy.
Yeah, Leroy, awesome, man. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the game
All right.
Thursday. Hopefully we're talking about a Browns victory when we next talk.
Thanks, Leroy.
All right,
Yep.
Leroy.
All right, guys. Have a good one.